Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities. I hope I've said his name right, because that won't be the last time I say his name. Guillermo. We'll go with that. Maybe I'll just say Del Toro. Cabinet of Curiosities is a Netflix show that's relatively new, and it showcases 8 short horror stories, each with its own writer and director, so they're putting their own unique twist on a story. Guillermo del Toro opens each episode with a little teaser for what the story is going to be about, and then you are thrown into the story, with each one being about an hour long. I was intrigued by this before watching. It sounded like it had some unique and diverse stories based on the synopsis for the episodes, but ultimately it turned out to be quite a predictable and mediocre set of stories. In these 8 episodes, you're either dealing with demons, aliens, or some CGI monster by the end of it all, which I found to be a little bit underwhelming. I found it underwhelming because the episode spent a lot of time setting up the mystery, and the setup was usually quite good. It was intriguing, and it made me curious about what the twist was going to be, but then the twist always turned out to be something cliche or underwhelming. It felt like the twist never quite hit the target. It felt cliche, it felt predictable, or it just felt like it wasn't that imaginative. Not to reuse adjectives that I've already used, but it just felt like very cliche horror. It felt like I'd seen these stories before in some other form, in another TV show or another movie. It just felt very familiar, and therefore it just didn't feel very bold or shocking. That's not to say there weren't some unique ideas here, because some of the stuff was intriguing. However, the execution wasn't always on point. It did come across as goofy at times, especially when the CGI isn't great. You know, you get some stuff like a massive CG rat and just struggling to understand maybe the significance of it. And even if that's not an issue, it just doesn't really look all that great and all that threatening. Saying all that, I wouldn't say this show is bad. I would just say it's mid. You know, it doesn't really exceed expectations. It doesn't do anything that's worth noting. But the performances here are pretty solid all round. You know, I think there's some very dedicated performances, you know, and there's going to be some faces that you recognize here, such as Rupert Grint and Andrew Lincoln, you know, 2 actors that we kind of just know for their one thing that they did. So it was nice to see them do something a little different with a short horror film. Ultimately, it was writing that let them down though, and I don't even focus on the dialogue when I'm saying that. It's more the story itself and the directions that the episodes take. It's tricky because it's like a feature-length film was being squeezed into an hour-long window, and the final acts end up feeling rushed, and that's because quite a lot of time is spent on the build-up for a majority of these episodes. So when it comes to the twist, they've kind of just got to throw it at you. Now, other episodes, you know, they will kind of tease stuff throughout, but it's still a case of finding out the truth and the answer a lot of the time. And then when you do get it, it just doesn't hit the spot. It's just not that exciting. I like the idea of 8 horror stories arranged by Guillermo del Toro with their own unique styles and direction, but the execution came out underwhelming, and therefore I would give this a 6 out of 10. In terms of the rewatchability rating, I wouldn't watch this again. I did find these hour-long episodes a bit of a drag, honestly. They did feel longer than an hour. I found myself getting distracted quite easily as well. I mean, I'm not the best at being able to sit still for a long time and watch something, but this was difficult. If you've seen Cabinet of Curiosities, let me know what you thought about it. Which episode was your favourite? I can't really pick a favourite out of all of these. I thought they were all on a very similar level of just, that was alright. And that's kind of where I sit with it. But yeah, if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.